Hello everyone. So today in this video, we are going to discuss about few more user interface elements. So in this video, we are going to talk about the checkbox and radio button, right? So these are also two frequently used user interface elements in Android applications, right? So as usual, whenever you are creating a new project, then this screen will be in front of you. So we are just going to the particular user interface, right? In XML file, I'm just going to delete this text view because I don't need it, right? And again, as I told you that right now we are dealing with the relative layouts, right? So I'm just going to create the relative layouts. Now I want to add the checkbox, right? So I'm just going to add the checkbox. Mandatory fields like width and height is the wrap content. So you can observe over here that this particular area, one square is there, right? So that is our checkbox. Okay. Now the necessary field is text over here. So here, let's suppose say we are talking about the text, right? So here we are going to provide some sports name like cricket, right? So you can select the particular sports name, right? That is cricket. I'm just going to provide the ID that here CHK cricket, right? Okay. So these are the particular field, and another important field you can set over here is a checked, right? So if you checked true, then you can see now one check sign will be there. So by default, your checkbox will be checked over there, right? So now I'm going to close this. Okay. So similarly, we are just going to create another two check boxes. So here one. Okay. So we are just going to create one another, that is football. I'm going to create the check box name, that is a football, right? And this is above of this particular thing, right? Just I want to make it sure to at the left hand side. So it's a right to layout. It's a layout right layout right to, and here we are just going to provide the ID that is our cricket, right? So here just we are going to see that our, okay, I just need to change football, and I'm just giving some professional name, that is CHK football, right? So you can observe that these are the two particular sports name we have, and both are checked right now, right? So you can add as many as you want according to your user's requirement, right? So now what we can do over here, that if I want to make it center, right? So suppose if I am going to make like margin um, left, right? Suppose say 200 dp or 10 dp. So you can see that these are the particular things. So we are not going to do that. Center horizontal, if we are going to put it true, then you can see that these are stretched away from the particular positions, right? So it is not a particular way we want. So what we can do over here, that we can create one another relative layout in between this, right? So here relative layout, I'm just going to wrap the content, okay, and I'm just going to close it, not over here, right? So I'm just putting another attributes, that center horizontal true, right? And I'm just also going to add one ID. Okay, I'm just going to add one another, that is margin top, that is 30 dp. I'm just going to put over here, right? So I'm just going to add this, like I want both of these checkbox into it, right? So now you can see both of my checkboxes are there. I'm just going to reformat the code so it will arrange it according to that, right? So now you can observe that both of these particular checkboxes are in a center horizontal, right? So sometimes you need to do this kind of work, right? If it is not perfectly viewable, then you have to change the layout according to your requirement, right? So here our designing is completed, right? So now just we go for the Java code. So how we can use these particular checkboxes according to our requirement. So first of all, here we need to define these particular fields. So I'm just going to define private. I'm just going to define the private checkbox. Then we are going to define a different names, whatever we have given, right? CHK, that is first is a cricket, right? You can define multiple names at the same time, right? So I'm going to do that. CHK, that is football. Okay. So I'm just going to create that two references. Now in the on create method, we are just going to find that by over by find view by ID. So find view by ID r dot ID dot whatever name we have, whatever ID we have provided. So I'm just keeping the same name to make it easy for remembering. So here you can observe that it's again find view by ID r dot ID dot chk football. Now both of our references are there. Now we just need to set the particular on click listener over here, right? So for that, what we can do over here, right? So chk and for cricket dot set on chs change listener, right? So what is doing over here whenever you are changing that particular checkbox, right? So at the same time, what action you want to perform, so that is we are going to define in this particular method. So here we are just going to define new. Then you can immediately find one interface that is over here, that is compound button on check change listener. So we are going to use that interface, and in that we are having on check change method, right? So here you can see that you can provide the logic over here, right? So the way if my checkbox is checked, I'm just going to check that. If chk cricket dot is checked, right? Then what I want to perform, so I want to create one toast message dot make text, right? So here I'm just going to provide this current context, one message, yes, cricket is selected, and here I'm just going to make it toast dot length long dot show, right? So this is my particular message I'm going to define over here. So here I'm just going to use get application context, right? So that will be useful. Else the same message I'm just going to copy and paste it over here, like else cricket is not selected, right? So here one simple message is going to display, right? So the same thing I can provide over here, right? For the same checkbox for the football, right? So you can observe the things over here that it will, whenever the state is changed, right, then it is going to display a different messages. Okay, so now here let's execute the code and see whether this particular thing is working or not. So here our application is loaded, starting AVD. It is installing the application. Okay, our application is installed. Okay, so here is that. Right now you are not seeing any toast message because we have not write the code according to that. So suppose if I uncheck this, so cricket is not selected. If I check, then cricket is selected. Similarly, for the football, if I'm going to check that, then a toast message I need to change. Sorry for that, right? So here you just need to change football, and instead of cricket, you have to just write a football. Okay, right? So again, suppose if I run this code, sorry, again the checkbox is there. So this you have to take care, right? Whenever you are copy pasting. So you just be careful for that. And here you can observe the things, right? So whenever I'm just going to select this, cricket is not selected, cricket is selected, then football is not selected, and the football is selected, right? So this way you can check that. Sometimes if you require something to check before, then you have to write the code according to that, right? So in the same code, we are going to just discuss about another user interface, right? That is the particular radio button, right? So here, what we are just going to do, right? So in the relative layout, I'm just going to create one radio button, right? So wrap content. Okay. Same thing. We are just going to provide that. So layout below. So I need to provide the ID, and I'm just going to provide the ID for that. And that ID is whatever you can just provide, chk cricket, right? So now you have this ID. You can have this ID is equals to the rate ID radio group. Then ID of this particular thing is radio group, right? And I'm just going to provide some radio mail, right? So I'm just going to provide that margin top is equals to suppose getting 50 dp, right, to differentiate that. And I'm just going to provide the text property, that is mail, right? And here also we have a checked, so I'm just going to make it true, right? And then I'm just going to close it. Similarly, I'm just going to create one another, you can say, radio button, and here I'm just going to take it as a female, right? And you can observe the things over here, right? So text is female, right? And I'm just going to put it right of ID, and that is a radio mail, right? Okay, now you can observe that both the radio buttons are here and all are in the center, right? So what you can do over here is, suppose I'm just going to, okay, that's required. Okay, now you can see right now both the radio buttons are selected. So we don't want that, because the radio button is used for whenever you want to select only one item at a time, right? So for that, what you need to do, you need to create a radio group, right? So for that, you just need to create radio group, and you just need to put it all this code over here in between this radio group. Okay, so now you can see, I'm just a moment, it will be appeared according to our requirement. Okay, now you can see over here that we can just put all these things this layout below ID CHK cricket, right? Now I hope you won't require this, and similarly you won't require this because we have a radio group created, right? So now you can put it like center horizontal and true. Okay, so that is there. Okay, and over here we are just going to provide the ID is equals to radio group. Okay, now you can observe over here that will be two male and female radio buttons we have, and now only one is selected. So you guys observe over here that we have a two different radio buttons within a one radio group. Okay, so let's now jump onto the code and see what we can do for this. So first of all, I need to minimize all this. Okay, and now I'm just going to create private radio group. Here just going to provide radio group is equals to find view by id r dot id dot radio group, right? Now here you can observe the things that here and here we are just going to do that, right? So let's first see, we have the particular radio status, right? So radio group dot set on checked change over here, right? And here we are just going to create a new radio group on check listener, right? So here what we can do over here, that we are just going to check whether the particular thing is created or not, right? So we are just going to create the switch. Okay, switch and I is equals to case r dot id dot radio mail. Okay, then I'm just want a toast dot make test get location context dot mail is selected and toast dot length long dot. I'm just going to show that particular message, else I'm just going to create a case r dot id dot radio female, right? The same message. I'm just going to copy paste over here, put it over here, and female is selected. And I'm just going to create a break. Okay, and default is break. Okay, now let's see this particular thing works or not. Okay, our application is installed. Now the male is selected, the female is selected, right? So at the same time, you can observe, you can select any one item at a time, right? So that's it, guys. This is for checkbox and radio button. It is very easy user interface to deal with. Thanks.